guys, it's Brooke from the Vintage Garden. Welcome back to my channel. So before we get into today's video, number one, please subscribe if you have not already. Click that notification bell so you don't forget anything. And I wanted to make a couple announcements. So number one, if you guys were not aware, I do have a podcast. It's on Podbean. It's called The Vintage Gardener. You can also access it on iTunes. If you guys have not been following it, you should consider, going particularly to Podbean and joining and following, because I've been doing a review of all the plants that I grew in my garden this year. And when I say all of them, I mean literally I'm going plant by plant. I grew a lot of things from seed. I grew close to 100 varieties of plants by seed. And so a lot of these plants, they don't sell in the store. So I'm telling you my experience with what I grew. So I think thus far I've done sunflower, I've done sweet pea, and I've done the chrysanthemums I got from Bluestone Perennial, and I have not made a decision in terms of what I'm doing this coming up Sunday or Monday. So definitely head over there. The other thing is that there's going to be another live podcast on November 19th, which is Friday. Friday, it's at 8 p.m. The topic is recipes from things that you make in your garden, because a lot of people do vegetable gardens, and you end up with all this excess produce. You don't know what to do with it. You can only can and make so much tomato sauce. So what do? And sometimes you kind of run out of, you do go to your usual suspects recipe and you're out of ideas. So what I would like people to do is to call in and tell me some recipes for things you can do with excess produce. I'm going to try an experiment. I'm going to try to live stream it to YouTube as well as Facebook. I have this one new program that I downloaded. I'm going to try the $19 a month thing that will let me broadcast to both at the same time. I'm not sure how I'm going to manage comments, but we'll see how this goes. Hopefully a lot of people participate. So that is, I think those are the only two announcements that I had to make. So let's get into today's video. Today's video is going to be broken up into two parts. Today I'm going to go over the peonies, and then I'm going to go over the tulips in a different video, because I do want to go over a little bit of care with each of the plants. Because I realize when I'm looking at my videos, and I've seen some other YouTubers, that I'm really not doing very well in terms of giving you guys the skinny on how to actually grow them and my personal experiences with them. So I gotta correct that. So let's talk about peonies. Peonies are probably one of my favorite flowers to grow. They only bloom one time, but man, I tell you what, when they're blooming, it's absolutely spectacular. Now peonies, you can get 8 weeks of blooms if you're varying the type of peonies that you grow. Like for example, woodland peonies, what's the other one? There's woodland, herbaceous, intersectional peonies, and obviously tree peonies. And even with the tree peonies, there's like Gansu peonies, and there's like lutea ones. And so each of them has a different bloom cycle, depending upon the color of your peonies. Some peonies bloom earlier than the others. Yes, so the bottom line is, with peonies, if you have a multiple varieties, you can get an 8-week bloom. Now, if you guys want more information on that, I would recommend that you go to peoniesfeatured.com. Kathleen, who's the owner of the business, who's also from New Jersey, by the way, has broken it down on how to get 8 weeks of peony blooms. And so absolutely wonderful. I can't wait. I have a bunch of different varieties. I'm obviously going to be expanding my collection of peonies, and I'm hoping in future to kind of do like a peony walk. So like for week 1, this is what's blooming, week 2. So you can kind of, journey with me as I hopefully will get 8 weeks of blooms. So that's my goal. With the peonies I'm showing you today, I am taking a page out of the book of Hortless Farm. They have a peony walk. They have planted 3,000 peonies in this like incredible long walk, and I'm going to link the video somewhere here. And it gave me the idea that with my Promenade Garden, which are the flower beds lining my driveways, I should do that. So I had already had like two Krinkled White at the beginning of the beds. So what I'm going to do is white, I'm gonna try to like do like an ombre effect. So, you know, white into like blush, into pink, into dark pink, into red, into like, you know, like burgundy type thing. And I think that's gonna look really pretty. So I got a couple of peonies to achieve that with thus far. And so two of the white ones that I got are Peony Primavera. And this one is white with a yellow center. There's 3 in this bag. And then the other white one I got is called Top Brass. And this is white with a yellow center, but it has some pink with it too. And so I have 6, so I think what I'm gonna do, I think in one bed I'm going to put essentially 3 Top Brass and 2 Primavera, 1 Primavera. Is that how I'm doing it? No. I got it this time. So I don't ever know if I mentioned, but math is not my strong suit. Okay, so basically on one side, I'm gonna put 2 Primavera and 1 Top Brass. On the other side, I'm gonna have 2 Top Brass and 1 Primavera. So that will be the 6 right there. Because one thing I'm trying to do with my gardening is I know that conventionally what everybody does today is that they say to make an impact, you have to get a lot of one thing. I don't think you have to do that at all. I think, you know, more is more. Like if you have like, you know, I think it's more of a variation on a theme. I think, you know, yes, if you have like 16 different color flowers all together, don't get me wrong, it can make an impact, but it just kind of looks very busy. Whereas if, for example, if you have pink, but you have different shades of pink all in one area, I think it ends up looking kind of harmonious. So at the end of the day, I'm not trying to do like the glut approach. I'm going with more of a specimen. To me, I like having more varieties as long as it's a theme. So, so that's what I'm going for. So in the white section, what I have already there is Krinkled White, which is a single, I think it's a single with a yellow, and I'll see if I can flash a picture up. And then I have Lancaster, which I think is just, well, you'll see it when I flash a picture. And then I have, it's either Shirley Temple or Festiva Maxima. So having these other white ones, especially because they kind of do look a little bit, I think, similar to what's already there, will work nicely. I hope. But you know what, if I don't like things, I can change things out because that's just how it goes. And then, so those are the 2 white ones. The last one I have is called Peony Sorbet. This is a pink one. It's a pink and white, so it's kind of, you know, going from that white into pink. There's another one, lighter pink, that I saw. So I want to get some light pinks, but I also want to get some that are blush to kind of dilute the color in that area before I get to, like, for example, like the Sarah Bernhardt kind of pinks. So that's how I'm going to do this. So I have 3 of those. I'm going to put 1 on each side, and then what I'll do is with the last one, because I am kind of going for symmetry, I'm going to put the last one in the pink section because I don't have, I think one pink section has pink, but I think the other section doesn't have any, you know, any pink in there. So that'll be interesting. So right now, between my 2 Krinkled White peonies, I have a intersectional peony that's like kind of a pinky mauve. So I'm actually going to dig that out now and kind of relocate that to the more pink part. And I know you guys are probably thinking, oh my gosh, isn't that going to set back the blooms? And this is where we get to the care guide. So when you're planting peonies, you want to go shallow with them. So let me show you a peony root that I have here. Okay, and so these things right here are the eyes. And when you're getting peonies, you want to make sure that they have at least 3 eyes, the more the better. This one right here has, I see like 5 or 6 eyes that are on that. That's great. The big thing on it is you want to make sure, do you see those white little filaments? Okay, those white filaments are the feeder roots. So one of the reasons that it takes peonies so long to get established and bloom is because most of the time when you're getting the roots, those feeder roots are not on there. Okay, if those feeder roots are not on there, the plant has to regenerate those before it'll bloom. Because although the plant can take up water and stuff from the root, the nutrients and stuff that it takes up primarily comes from the feeder roots. So basically your peony will spend a whole year regenerating the feeder roots, and then at that point you may get a bloom. And here's the thing about peonies. A lot of times when your peony blooms the first time, the blooms don't look the way they will once the plant is fully established. So if you're thinking, oh my gosh, I think I got the wrong plant, you didn't. I had that happen with the Do-Tell peony that I got last year. It sort of resembled the, I should say, adult version, but not quite. So that happens with everything. So at the end of the day, make sure when you're getting them that they still have feeder roots. So when you plant them, although I'll put this down fairly, this I want to be covered, I kind of like to leave the eyes like maybe an inch or two under the ground, to be quite honest. If it's barely covered, that's fine, because the thing is when you start putting mulch and stuff on there, it's going to get covered and it's going to act the way dirt is. With peonies, you don't want to bury them too deeply, because if you do, they will not bloom. So go shallow, if anything. So even if a little bit is sticking up above ground, you're still good. I think it's better to go shallower rather than try to get an inch. So when I bury this, I'll probably bury it to like maybe right about here, and then I'm gonna be mulching some leaves and putting on top of it and just covering it that way, and this will be good to go. So if you're gonna transplant it, like I will be, if I remember to set up my camera, I'll show you. But the thing about peonies that I found when I transplanted them to get them and divided them to get them bigger is that when you dig out as much of not only just the root ball, but also get all the dirt with it. Don't try to shake the dirt off, because those feeder roots are very fine filaments, and if you're shaking off that dirt, you're gonna rip it off. So for example, at my last house, I had a peony that had been growing in a large pot and I wanted to put it in ground. So I had to take it out of the pot and then I was going to divide it. So I didn't shake any of the dirt. I left the dirt on. Like when I pulled out the peony, a lot of the dirt, almost all the dirt was attached. I just left it that way. When I divided it with my shovel, once again, I didn't try to shake the dirt off. I didn't do a really good job of making sure there was enough eyes between the sections, but I think I actually got like 6 or 7. But I left all the feeder roots intact. Now, one of the smallest ones I think only had an eye on it, which was definitely not good on my part, but surprisingly it actually did get a single bloom the next year. The other ones had more like one or two. And then I guess you would say the mother portion of the plant had maybe like, 5 or 6 blooms. And then the next year they all had, put on significant growth. So that is what I would recommend. Make sure you get all the dirt. Don't try to shake it off to preserve those feeder roots. When I plant mine, I'm actually going to be using bone meal, because I want to help encourage that feeder root growth over the winter. I have a feeling, like last year I planted my peonies in pots because I hadn't set up the parterre garden. So although I did get some blooms, I have a feeling that had I actually planted it in ground with the bone meal, where when it's raining, like the water's not washing all the nutrients out of the pots that I had them in, I think they'll do a lot better. So I'm looking forward to getting at least a bloom or 2 on each of the plants next year. So that is my plan for the peonies. That is how you take care of peonies. Peonies are pretty much no muss, no fuss. They're going to bloom. Their leaves are going to they'll look okay for a little bit and they'll start getting gnarly. My recommendation, actually, I saw this with P. Allen Smith, is that if you're planting other things around it, they'll basically, kind of overtake the peony, and start with, with the foliage and everything. I found that the other plants I planted around it kind of shielded the peony leaves. And so some of the peonies I had, the leaves were still green and looking very lush, you know, up until recently, once the weather started getting, then they started getting kind of, you know, kind of nasty. Aside from that, peonies can look kind of bad for a while. So that's pretty much it. Like, you know, once the peonies have their leaves start turning brown, then you can cut them back at that point. I will leave a little bit of stalks on them just because, number one, I like to protect the crown of my plant. On the other hand, you can also see where your plants are. So if you're going to do things like plant tulip bulbs, which are going to go over next, you're not inadvertently damaging the tuber. So guys, that's it for peonies. And so hopefully you guys get some. If you have not tried them, absolutely, it's worth having peonies in your garden. Tubers are a lot more economical, but you do have to have the patience because it takes a little bit, you know, before they're like 3 feet tall and 3 feet wide, which is pretty much what all of them are. So anyway, guys, thank you for watching this part of the video, and I will see you in the next one where I'm unboxing all of my tulips.